Uh, what we have is exercise 1.6. We notice that we now have complex numbers in the denominator position, David. We now have we now have on the denominator position. We have complex numbers in the denominator position. There's i's on the bottom. Your question wants your answer to look like a regular complex number. So it says a plus bi, and a plus b are real numbers. So it could be something like 3 plus 4i, 2 plus 3i, 2 plus 0i, which is 2. It could be 0 plus 3i, which is 3i. They basically just want a normal answer. They do not want, what they do not want is they do not want any i's under the bottom as a fraction. So they want no fractions left over. More specifically, they want no fractions with I on the bottom left at the end of this question. That's what it means. You see all these answers I gave? You see all the examples of the answers you're allowed to have? None of them have an I on the bottom as a fraction. Okay? So here's what you do with all of these questions. You go down. Step 1, get the conjugate of the denominator. What is the conjugate of the denominator? Can anybody tell me? The denominator, that's the conjugate of the numerator. 2 plus I. Now, we remember earlier on when we were doing fractions is that when you have a fraction and you multiply top and bottom by the same number, does it affect the value of that fraction? Remember that trick? Pick a number between 1 and 5. Multiply it by 3. Then divide it by 3. You get back the same number, right? If you do the same top and bottom, it doesn't affect the value of the number. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate of the denominator every time. Now what happens then, guys? 7 times 2? 14. 7 times I? 4i times 2. And then 4i times I. What is 4i squared? Minus 4. Now look at the bottom. And if you do these correctly, this will happen every single time. 2 times 2. 2 times I. And then minus I times 2. And then minus I times I. Minus 1i times I is minus 1i squared, which is minus 1 times minus 1 plus 1. Every single one of these questions, this will happen. The middle part of the bottom will cancel each other out. Do you see that? So 2i minus 2i cancels. So 4 plus 1. Anybody? 5. 14 minus 4. 7i plus 8i. 15i. Right, David? Now, is 10 and 15 divisible by 5? What do you get? 10 divided by 5? 2. 15i divided by 5? 3i. Okay. That is the answer. A plus bi. Okay. Now, look at number 14 as an example. It says, express Z1 over Z2 as x plus yi. So, Z1 is 8 plus 2i, or 8 minus 2i. Z2 is 1 plus I. And it wants the answer as a complex number, so basically I'm not allowed i's on the bottom. Can anybody remember what we did in the last question? Get the conjugate of the bottom, which is 1 minus I. Then what you do top and bottom with the 1 minus I? Multiply top and bottom by 1 minus I. Look what happens. 8 minus 8i. Then after that, 2i times 1 minus 2i minus 2i times minus I. Plus 2i squared. And what's I squared? And 2 times minus 1 minus 2. Then on the bottom, 1 times 1. 1 times minus I. Minus 1i. I times 1. 1i. I times minus I. What's I times minus I? And what is I squared? What's minus minus 1? Plus 1. Good man. Now finally, look up here. 8 plus 8 minus 2. 8 minus 2, anybody? 6. Minus 8i minus 2i. Nearly. Minus 8i minus 2i. Minus 10i. Now, minus 1i plus 1i. Cancel. 1 plus 1. 2. 6 divided by 2. 3. 10i divided by 2. So the answer is 3 minus 5i. Finally, to give you something like this, okay? Okay, I see it now. Okay, here's what they want. They try to make it really, really complicated. Listen, lads. They try to make it really, really complicated by doing something like this. W equals U minus V minus 2. Okay, first of all, what is U? Says it. 3 plus 2i. Take away V. What's V? Minus 1 plus I. If I'm designing a test, that's where I make people lose their marks. Minus a complex number works perfectly because everybody forgets the brackets, and when you forget the brackets you make a minus or a plus error. Takes off 3 marks off 40% of people who do it. Okay, and then minus 2 at the end. 3 plus 2i minus minus 1 plus 1, and then minus plus 1 minus I. It's just minus I. Now 3 plus 1, 4. 4 minus 2, 2. 3i minus I. 2 plus I is the answer for W. So W is 2 plus I. Now here comes the hard part, so to speak. It next wants me to get a fraction. 2 times U. So what's U? So therefore what's 2U? 6 plus 4i. Then it wants me to add on V. So what's V? Minus 1 plus I. 6 minus 1? 4i plus I. Now, this means the top part is 5 plus 5i. What does that mean about the bottom part? The bottom part is W. So what is W again? No, we got it in part 1. Remember, it told us W is U minus V minus 2. And we did that about a minute ago. We're now going to use that answer to put it here. So, this full question, see this part 2 question? You've done a good bit of work on it, and it still only looks like this. Now what do you do? You've done a lot of work and it looks like this. Conjugate of the denominator, which is top and bottom, and then after that multiply it out. 10 minus 5i plus 10i, and then minus 5i squared. What's minus 5i squared? Plus 5. On the bottom, 2 by 2, 2 by I, 2i, I by 2, and then finally I by minus I, which is minus minus 1, which is plus 1. Have a look top and bottom, guys. The 2i cancels with D, or 2i. 4 plus 1 on the bottom, 5. And then finally 10i plus 5, 15. Minus 5i plus 10i, 5i. Are they divisible by 5? 3 plus 1i. And you're done. We did 15, 14 and 2. 2, 14 and 15.